Hey guys, this is Lil with another raid video. Today we are going back to Hydra, one of my favourite areas in raid, and really dialing it back to how do you get into Hydra, what's it all about. You don't understand what any of the heads are, what they do, what their names are, so really dialing it back, just doing a bit of a series just from start to finish, sort of taking you through everything that you should need to know for Hydra. Hopefully, and then hopefully by the end of this you'll be able to build your own Hydra teams or have the tools to sort of help build that. So today we're going over the heads, what they do, how to counter them, and then what I think are the essential and nice to have buffs when you're looking, buffs and debuffs when you're building your team, and some of that will come out when we're talking about how to counter the different heads. So I'm going to cut over now to my lovely OneNote, which is where I store all this stuff. There we go. So this is my OneNote, and I've probably shown this on an earlier video. I just wanted to sort of take all that information and break it down into sort of smaller, easier to take chunks. I think that video was like 20-30 minutes, and you've got to have a lot of time if you want to sit down and listen to that. So the heads, what do they do? No idea. Yeah, I was on a friend's account, a clanmate's account today, and yeah, he just never, he's got a great account. He's advanced in all areas of the game, but just Hydra just never got it. Yeah, and so when I was on his account today doing a cleanse for him, of course couldn't resist but take a look at his teams for him and gear up a few of his champs. So I thought it was a really good time to just take it and dial it back. So the one thing I will say is Hydra, it's just not something that you can do straight away. You've got to be really far into the game before you've got the chance to be able to do Hydra properly. You need 3 of lots of these champs, and the reality of you having 3 teams of 6 different champs all filling different roles is really difficult. You're not going to be there when you're first starting out. So anyway, right, onto the heads. What do they do? So Torment is the one that probably most people struggle with when they first start getting into Hydra. It's the one that fears you if you attack it. It fears you and it's unresistible, and the only way to not get feared is to have a perfect veil on, a veil or a perfect veil. So the counter to that is bring someone with a veil or perfect veil, like your Duchess, like your Rector Drath, or bring a Shamal, who will just cleanse it right off, and he will also boost the turn meter of the leader. Those are the 2 strats. That's it. Simple. Mischief is one of the most annoying heads, really. It steals the buffs of the person who has the most buffs. It always picks the person who has the most buffs, no matter what. So there are a few things that you can do to get around that. The most common one and most effective one is having a Mischief tank. That's somebody who self-buffs on your team so that they've always got more buffs. You can also help that by having a Blood Shield ring, which will give that person an extra buff, a mini shield. And you can also give them lightning cage, lightning shield, whichever one it is. Blessing, so that again, as the Hydra gets more buffs and turn meter, then that person will have an unremovable buff. It does come off when it sort of converts to damage, but that's a really consistent way of doing it as well. So ideally all 3 of those things, someone who self-buffs, someone with a Blood Shield ring, and somebody who you've put lightning cage. It's going to annoy me now whether it's lightning cage or lightning something else, or lightning orbs. You know the one I mean anyway. The other way is block buffs. Block buffs is good. You're going to want block buffs anyway in your team. But the problem with block buffs for Mischief is he will still steal the buffs even if they get blocked from applying to him. So your champ is still going to lose all their buffs and turn meter, and he is going to not gain the buffs but will gain the turn meter even if he doesn't get the buffs. So block buffs works. It's not as ideal. You can't target Mischief unless he's got Hex on. So Hex is very good, and obviously the last resort buff stripping him. Decay is the cleanser. It cleanses, it puts a big shield on. If you don't get rid of the big shield, then they heal back up to full. And the way to counter it is provoke. Provoke, whether you do that in a taunting set, whether you pick champs like Husk or Soulless who have got provokes or physics. There are some great options there. There are a lot of champs who can deal with both these heads. So like a Bivald of the Thorn, like a, what's his name? Vargal, Skull Lord Vargal. Or no, Lord Vargal, isn't it? They can do both these things, and they're really good. Morley is another one. If you've got her, they self-buff and they provoke really consistently. So really good options, because you've just, and that's the thing with Hydra. There's so many things that you want that you're always trying to get champs that bring multiple roles of the things that you're trying to do. So, you know, being able to deal with Mischief and Decay in a single champ, if it's Molly, she is also boosting turn meter and she's also a reviver. So that's another role that you've filled. Three roles, 3 champs in one champ. Okay, Suffering is the one that puts out ally protection. It also gets an extra turn, so it tends to eat your champs faster. So, you know, if they get eaten and there's 3 turns left, but he's got his, whatever it is, A3 coming up, it's actually going to be 2 turns. It's actually going to tick down an extra turn. He also puts Pain Link on, which means that they get some of the damage that you deal to them. It's also very tanky. For the most part, block buffs will take care of him. You can just ignore him for the most part. Keep an eye on his, if he gets the Devour, you need to switch straight away if he's going to get his extra turn on the A3. Blight puts the Poison Cloud out, means that all your attacks will be weak hits unless the target has HP burn. So either make sure that everyone's got HP burn before he does that, or better, make sure that block buffs is up. He'll put his Poison Cloud out, nothing will happen. Also worth noting, when you kill Blight, the Poison Cloud disappears. So you can, if he's close to low health, you could just, and you've missed a block buff, so you can always just kill him. Wrath is always fun when it comes around, because you sort of forget how hard it hits until it comes around again. He counters every time he's hit. It goes up to 16, I want to say. And then he counterattacks. And he still gets his normal turn at his normal time that he would get it. The way to deal with him is decrease attack. It's as simple as that. He also provokes your team, but for the and he puts some buffs on himself, like block debuffs and stuff. Again, block buffs will deal with that. You want to make sure you've always got block buffs on, because he will put increased attack on. If he attacks you while he's got increased attack on, he is going to kill some people. It's simple. It's you know, it's very difficult to not get killed. Obviously, yeah, your tanky buffs, your increased defense, strengthen are all going to help you. Cleanse for the provoke. So those are the heads. I would say, personally, I think Mischief and Decay are the 2 that you've got to bring away to deal with. Because if you don't, your buffs are getting stolen, all your debuffs are getting cleansed, and the Hydra run just falls apart super quickly as soon as that happens. You know, or I would say Blight is a pain, but relatively easy to deal with. Blight's a pain, like, you can just, I had a run last week, and all it takes is you miss a provoke, it's out of time, or it's on cooldown, or it gets resisted, because 3%, and suddenly Decay gets a cleanse out, or gets the shield out, Blight gets Poison Cloud out, and then your champ's stuck inside Mischief, who you can't target now because they cleansed off your Hex, and then Decay comes back around and puts a big shield on as well. And you know, at that point you're knackered. You're weak hitting, and there's no way you're getting your champ back. And that happens. That just happens in runs. And it's up to you. You know, you can either swallow that damage and go, okay, this run I only made so many. Did I make it past the key that I wanted? Or you regroup. And that's the reality of Hydra. Okay, so it was Ivy Lee who had a great video, and it was, there isn't any RNG in Hydra, because what you should be doing, and again, you can't if you're early game or even mid game, you need to bring for everything. that's my approach, is you try and cover as many of these heads popping out as you can. I used to have a big sheet that was all like which heads are in which rotation and which affinity, so swapping out your DPS champs and do you really need a provoker this time, and I just now I have my teams and I cover as many of those bases as I can with the champs on my roster, and each team has a weakness, and I put that down in my sort of planning, and I think I showed my team planning in the last one. I think it's important to know where your weaknesses are in your team, so that I know in my Nightmare team that if where's he gone? If Head of Torment comes out, what I want to do is kill him with indirect damage. Try and not hit him directly, which is a problem. If you're full auto, obviously you can't, but if you're not full auto, if you're semi-auto or you're manual, avoid him. Or like on my brutal team, Duchess has a terrible habit of Duchess puts Veil on everyone except herself, but she'll always target Head of Torment so that she gets feared herself. It's like, no, just you target someone else, everyone else can kill Torment. Anyway, so that's the heads and what they do, and I think what I'll have to do is break this video here, and I'll go back on and talk about buffs and debuffs in the next video, because I want to keep these relatively short, and it's already been 11 minutes by my clock. So that's the heads and what they do. They're all annoying in their own way. I feel like Torment, if you've got a Shamal, that's great. If you haven't, a Rector Drath can help you there. A Tatura can help you there. I do have a list of different champs for the different roles, which I will share as well. I'm just in the middle of updating it at the moment. But that's how I approach it, is I go, okay, I need a block debuff champ. Who have we got for, sorry, a block buff champ. Who have we got on this roster for block buffs? And sometimes, like the clanmate who I was looking at earlier, he didn't have a third block buffs champ, so I had to bring someone who for me was slightly less ideal, and it meant that we couldn't bring a Mischief tank into that team. Or like my original Nightmare team, I only had 2 damage dealers rather than 3. The ideal would be 3 damage dealers, 3 supports, I think. But I used to run it 2 damage dealers because I just didn't have the champs to get all the roles filled otherwise. And that's the reality. So it's like, you can cover for as many as you want, but you need the damage as well, or you'll never break anybody out of being devoured. So it's a balance, your team comp and covering as many of the scenarios and the buffs and the debuffs as you can, whilst also keeping enough damage in your team so that you can free your champs out. I'm going to stop there because I could just talk for ages. I also, and I haven't, I should have prepped it with a screenshot, shouldn't I? I hit my first 100 million this week on Nightmare, so I'm quite happy about that. Thanks to Nuts, who's now just permanently replaced my my Royal Guard on my Nightmare team. Yeah, he's doing great work. In fact, I'll grab a screenshot. Here we go. Let me flip over. There we go. That's my key for this week. It doesn't come out very well. Sorry, that's Discord. Here we go. I can flip you. That's the one I wanted. No, that doesn't look like it's working now, which is funny because that's the one that we were looking at earlier. Oh, there it is. Okay, I will seamlessly cut that so it looked like I just flipped straight over. Just take a note of where the time was. This is my team for this week. No idea why that's slightly off center, but there we go. Yeah, not doing really well. Mishinaki also doing really well this time. I was kind of, I don't know, I never felt like mine did quite enough damage, but yeah, he's done good this time. So yeah, quite happy. Anyway guys, that was it. So that's getting into Hydra and just the heads and sort of what they do. In the next video, which I'll probably record now, I will do buffs and debuffs and what you need to bring for your team comp. I hope you liked it, guys. I hope you're liking the Hydra content. And give me a like and a subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.